Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TF1 show. Now, please don't mistake my excitement in my introduction as, carryover from the race, because it has literally been the Spanish Grand Prix. And you may ask, why do I call it the Spanish Grand Prix? Because the Grand Prix was held in Spain and not in Spain. And and after that very, very lame joke, I'm happy to introduce my fellow contributor today, Beth from Beth1, who is a female content creator here on YouTube. Now, Beth, can you please tell the ladies and gentlemen a bit more about yourself?
So, like I said, I'm Beth. I'm a female Formula One content creator here on YouTube. That is my jam. And I talk about lots of different topics, mainly stuff that isn't spoken about much on F1 YouTube. So I have an entire series dedicated to female motorsport called F1 is Female, where I sort of pick up on bits that people haven't really seen because Formula One is such a male-dominated sport. And I try to talk about stuff that's not been spoken about. I'm one of these people that I will only speak if I feel like I have my two-piece. So I'm not a race review channel. I'm there just to try and pick. I described, I think, on Ollie's channel that I am a magpie, and if I see something shiny because no one's touched it, I'm going to take that and I'm going to make a video out of it.
I mean, that's looking for opportunities, something that Valtteri Bottas can't seem to do on a race weekend. But anyways, so thank you so much for that, Beth. And I'm going to link all of her channel details and her Twitter handle and everything in the description of this video. So please, please, please go check her out. She is really one of the best people on YouTube to watch on Formula One. So many interesting things that she says. And just being all around a fun person to chat to as well. So let's get into the race review, right? I mean, we're pressed for time. We have much to discuss. Not really, but we have things to discuss after the Spanish Grand Prix. And, as per usual, we'll start with the victors, which was, as per normal, as per usual, Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes. Now, Beth, I actually don't have much to say about Hamilton and Mercedes. They did their job. He got the pole. Mercedes was quickest, even though they told us they weren't going to be. Job done, right? Ooh, we've lost Beth there. Let's give her a chance to rejoin. But Beth is back. Beth is back. The greatest return since Sebastian Vettel after his one-stop strategy.
This is more exciting than the Grand Prix itself.
The Spanish literally more exciting.
Right, so were you talking about Lewis?
We were talking about Lewis and Mercedes, and I wanted to know what you thought.
Oh my God, right, okay, so I'm convinced at this point that Lewis is not human. Like, how can that guy just casually go and lap the entire field? Like, I know it's Spain, I know it's a really, really short track, but, like, when they were like, oh, he's just about to lap Sergio Perez, I was like, sorry? Like, that shouldn't be allowed. Like, how can you possibly do that? And yes, we know Lewis is a great driver. He's in the fastest car. But the fact that he was so dominant over Bottas this weekend just shows like how great a driver he is. You could put anyone else in that Mercedes and you should expect a 1-2. Like, if you don't get a 1-2, it's sort of showing the second driver up. But just how much quicker and how much further ahead he was to Bottas, I think really just showed that Lewis is just in like a category of his own.
No, he is 100%. And what I found, like, he was just also being like a bit petty, Lewis, I thought, during the race, because at some point, I think just when Verstappen came in for his second pit stop, as Verstappen came out, Lewis was just like, okay, and then he just did the fastest lap for fun, just for lols and for bands, and then just to show Max that even on his new tires, he doesn't have a chance.
Yeah.
So, it was an incredibly dominant performance by Hamilton. Bottas, Beth, what did you think?
Oh my God, I don't know what is happening with Bottas. It's the same thing every single year. He comes to the first race, all guns blazing, takes the win, and we go, "Ooh, is this the new Bottas?" And then
might be this is his chance.
Yeah, like, oh my God, maybe he's going to bring like a little bit of spice. We're going to have an actual like title contender. And then you get to the second race and he's like, he'll either qualify P2 or he might put it in pole and then throw it away. And you're like, no, it's all right. Like, we have these days. We all have these days. You know what I mean? We can't all be perfect all the time. Allow it. And then it just keeps happening, and it's just it's so frustrating because personally for me, I see a lot of other drivers on that grid that if you put them in that Mercedes car, there would be not only a great number 2 to Lewis, but they would also be able to reach Mercedes' full potential, because we know Mercedes is the dominant car. But every time I see Valtteri even do a P3, I'm like, that's not Mercedes' full potential, and they won't be happy with that. It's almost as if, because he's been signed, he's like, I can chill out now. I've got one more year to do it. Maybe I'll do it next year.
But like, I would have imagined, right? You got signed. He kept going on, right? One of his big excuses in the previous years was no, because sort of at the crux of the championship, where really like he had to put in the good performances and the strong points, he was doing contract negotiations and he was sort of distracted and he didn't know whether he was going to have a seat the next year. And that's sort of what threw him off his game, right? Now he has none of that. He has the contract for next year. He has that job security. Mm-hmm. He now just has to go out and deliver. And I'm very sorry, but literally not one thing in this race he did better than Lewis, right? Like, Lewis is so much better at executing a race than what Valtteri is. And I know people don't like to hear this because people do say that Valtteri is a good race driver. But Hamilton was he, I think at some point, seconds a lap faster than Valtteri in this race, like more than a second for phases of this race, which is not acceptable if you're a second driver. And anyone that doesn't like Alex Albon, you can go away. I don't want to talk to you. It's not the discussion we're having right now. But Bottas, he has a contract for next year and is a very good number 2 driver. But while Lewis is in that car, I didn't see him winning a championship. I'm very sorry. Other than extreme misfortune for Lewis, because today was the perfect example of Lewis just executing so much better during the race compared to Valtteri. So yeah, that's my 2 cents essentially about Bottas. So Beth, let's maybe move on to Red Bull, which is another interesting one. Max got a bit angry today. He showed his angry side.
Oh my God, I loved it. I was like,
I mean, Max. One day when I'm big, right, and when I'm a grown-up, I want to have the amount of calm in my life and in my heart as what GP, his race engineer, has. Like, Max Honestly. Was going at it, and he's like, keep your head down, Max. You can do it,
like,
Max.
Literally, it's like coaxing a toddler. You know what I mean? Yes. It's like stop throwing your rattle out the pram and just go for it. But you know what? I can see why he's like that, because it's always we've got to cover Lewis, we've got to do this and this and this. And sometimes the best way to go about a race is just think about what you're doing and not what everyone else is doing. Because so many times you see scenarios where they're too focused on making sure they get the undercut or the overcut or putting in the fastest outlap or what's this team doing? We need to cover them. And sometimes you just need to be focused and focus on your own race. I mean, I think a couple of performances that you might want to look at and be like, okay, clearly they were just thinking about their own race and not concerned about anyone around them. I would arguably say Vettel with Ferrari, because at this point Ferrari are like, well, like, we might as well give it a go. Like, they are genuinely just concerned about getting points at this point. They don't care about anyone around them. Another one as well, Gasly for AlphaTauri. It appears that all the time they're just running their own race and doing if they can get in the points. And I think these teams which are always sort of on that barrier of they're either going to get points or they're not going to get points, and they're in that sort of midfield gap, a lot of the time they focus on their own race and they don't focus on the other teams. Whereas when you look at Mercedes and Red Bull, they're always looking at each other, and sometimes it's not the way to go. I mean, last weekend in Silverstone, when Max said, look, this is the closest I'm ever going to get, let me have a go, and they let him do it, it worked. So I think sometimes it's not great and they need to listen to Max more, because at the end of the day, he is in his 5th season. Yes, he's still a young driver, but he's got that experience. And this blows my mind. Usually when it comes to teams, they are more concerned about the Constructors' Championship rather than the Drivers' Championship. That's where the money is. That's what they want to do. Red Bull have no competition for second place, and they're not going to beat Mercedes. So what have you got to lose? What have you got to lose to try
Literally.
something different to get Max that win? Like, I'm sick and tired. Oh my God, I'm going on a rant. I am sick and
Rant.
tired.
You must rant away, Beth.
Yeah, I'm sick and tired of seeing these teams, these who are just playing it safe every single week and not doing anything. That's not what we want to see. We want to see different strategies. And if it works, it works. And we're like, wow. If it doesn't work, we're like, wow, you're a clown.
Oh, well.
Like, either way, we're going to be happy with the scenario. So I don't know why they just don't do it.
Yeah, it's the data thing, right? And I mean, given what I do, I can sort of understand it. I think a lot of the engineers and the strategists, they sort of just look at the data and they stare at the data, and they've run their millions of simulations and they have come up with this optimum strategy that they will try and execute to the best of their ability during the race. And that's all that they look at. They measure any decision against, this is the optimum strategy. Is this in line with the optimum strategy? If it's not, are we willing to deviate from the optimum strategy? And more often than not, the answer is no. And this actually ties in well with, and you raised a good point there, Beth, on Alex Albon and the fact that Red Bull is sort of neither here nor there. Like they seem to be faster than the Racing Points and Ferrari and McLaren, but not in the same postcode as Mercedes, which means that they're really, like, as much as people want to say Max is in the fight for the Drivers' Championship, except if something goes catastrophically wrong with Hamilton's car, like reliability-wise, he's not going to win the championship.
No.
They have Spa and Monza coming up, which is basically a power circuit, and we know who has the best power on the grid. But, be that as it may, the thing is, with Albon, they just need to let Albon find his way. Like, I feel, despite his struggles during the race today, and I mean, I'm going to have a good rant now about the strategy that they put him on.
Oh my God.
You can see in some areas he's sort of improving, and they're trying to understand things and trying to figure it out. And I think even Red Bull has now realized that what happened with Gasly wasn't Gasly's fault. I think it's clear as day to see how good Gasly's doing as well.
Yeah.
But that it's something in the car and something in the way that that car is set up that is not working for somebody that isn't named Max Verstappen. Now, that could be because Max is just that good, or it could be because actually Max is a very specific driving style that seems to agree with the way that the Red Bull works. Now, they need to leave Alex be for the rest of the year. Just let him find marginal gains every single race. Improve a little thing here, a little thing here. Figure out what's going on here. Stop piling on the pressure on him. And literally every race, and we're all guilty of it, where we expect, oh, is this the race that Albon's going to be 1/10 of Max? We shouldn't expect that. We must expect Albon to be 5/10 off, then 4/10 off, then 3.5 off, and then hopefully by the end of the year, 2 to 1/10 off. And then I think it's going to be better for everybody involved and for Red Bull as well. And I think this is maybe a good opportunity for Red Bull to do this, because they don't really have competition from the back, and they're not being competitive at the front or as much as they would have been. So I don't know what you think about that.
So it's really, really difficult, because I think, yes, like, of course we're going to compare Alex to Max. He's his teammate and he's essentially in the same car. Of course we're going to compare. However, I think this is something I think a lot of people forget, that Max Verstappen, yes, is 22 years old, but he's also in like his 5th season of F1. He's in his like 4th year with the team. Like, he's got a lot of experience simply being in that team and working with all the people around him. And we don't see what happens behind the scenes. We don't see how close the relationships are between engineers, team principals, all of that stuff. And just that change in environment is so different. Plus, then you've got to put a complete change car. Then you've literally got the hardest thing to do, and that is to be on par with Max Verstappen. I mean, people look back and say Daniel Ricciardo was a really good match to Max. Well, of course he is, because he was in that team X amount of years before Max even got there. He was already there, settled in within the team.
Yeah.
So,
and you forget, Alex has literally been in Formula One for
2 years.
A year and a bit.
Yeah, exactly. And people aren't looking at this. And I think as well, what's also really important to look at is this year what we're seeing is Red Bull aren't that 2nd/3rd best team on the grid. They're that 2nd best team on the grid. But sometimes you have the Racing Points they are very, very, very close. So it's almost what we've sort of seen is we sort of see Mercedes in their own league doing whatever the hell they want for the funds because they can at this point. Then you have Max Verstappen. Then you have this group of both the Racing Points, Charles if the car behaves himself, Alex, and then at some points as well, you've got the McLarens, and if Ricciardo's having a good day, he'll shove it in there as well. So it's almost like we've got these two separate groups. We have this midfield group that we typically know of with the Racing Points, the McLarens, the Renaults, but now that midfield group, sometimes it's split in two. So you sort of like have your Racing Points, and you have Alex and McLarens, and then you sort of like have a second half to that, and then beyond we have the Haas, the Alphas, the Williams, and it seems to have got so much closer. And when you've not got that time in that car, do we expect him to be on par with Max? No. But then as a result, because everyone else is so much closer, he falls behind those people, and that's the problem.
And I think really, Anna, it's becoming more and more clear to me. It's a matter of Albon not yet being able to unlock his pace in that car. We've seen glimpses of him and how fast he actually is. Like I thought Silverstone last week in Silverstone, he was so fast.
This is the thing with Alex. I was watching the race with my boyfriend today, and I was saying there are 3 people on that grid who are not scared to do an overtake at any point during the track. It's Max, it's Daniel if he's got a car behind him, and it's Alex, because I'm sorry, some of the moves that he has been pulling off when he has to pull them off are absolutely insane.
Yeah, no, agreed, 100%. So I think to conclude, well, actually not to conclude, I still have a bone to pick with Red Bull about their strategy. Why did they think it was a good idea to put Albon on the hard tire? Literally, like on Friday, they decided that the hard tire is basically a no-go. You will not use the hard tire at any point this weekend. And then they put him after, I know his tires was pretty dead by then, but put him on hard tires into traffic, which basically ruined his race completely. And I really, really don't understand what Red Bull was thinking there. I would have at least given him the medium to give him a bit of a better chance to get past, Ocon and Magnussen at that point. I was just really frustrated with that strategy call from Red Bull, because to be honest, I think we've lost Beth again. We've got Beth back. She's back.
Here.
Sorry, I was ranting around Alex.
I am sending the biggest fat bill to Virgin Media.
No worries. I was just having a rant about Alex's strategy, going on about why the hell they decided to put him on hard tires. Like, the hard tire was like the worst thing in the world on Friday. Literally, you couldn't pick the worst tire. Then they put him on the hard tire in traffic behind Kevin Magnussen and Esteban Ocon. And it just caused this massive DRS train. I freaking hate Spain. I don't know if you remember. It was literally Magnussen going around the track like he's in a tractor. And then you had Ocon on the longest one-stop strategy known to humankind, trying to get past. Couldn't get past.
Oh my God.
Alex Albon on his set of hard tires, just like driving on chewing gum. Then behind him, you had Pierre Gasly, Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, and Charles Leclerc, all of them literally stuck in this traffic jam because Kevin Magnussen just refused to pit. And I was like, Kevin, please, for the love of Formula One and what the sport means to us, please just go to the pits and do us a favor.
I have a massive bone to pick, and that is with Esteban Ocon. Oh my God, how long he was stuck behind Kevin was insane. I'm sorry, that is not acceptable. And like, I was just watching him and I was like, and then, so we have Ocon as the problem anyway. Then me and my boyfriend, again, we were talking about this problem with Renault. Renault seem to have this one strategy that they pick to go out of the way of everyone else. And what they do is, let's do 105 laps on whatever tyre we are on.
And then we put on the soft tyre for 5 laps and overtake the entire field. They try that every race and it's worked out exactly 0 times.
Exactly. And it's like, okay, I can see your point. You want to go as long as possible, but it seems like they go as long as possible. Then they see the window that they're like, we could get a good result here. But they decided just to sail straight past that because that's far too easy. They want to make it a bit of a challenge for themselves. Cyril was like, we've really got to prove ourselves here. So how about we do the hardest thing possible to us and then try and get points? And it's like, babe, that's not going to work.
On soft tires, so like we'll take the soft tire and we will run 60 laps on the soft. And then we'll pit and we'll put on the hard tires for a 10-lap sprint to the finish.
I hate it.
Shame. Let's maybe talk about the midfield, right? Let's talk about Renault, McLaren, and Ferrari. I can't believe Ferrari is part of the midfield now, but whatever. Let's maybe chat about Sebastian Vettel, the engineer, the strategist,
this is so good.
the race driver, the mechanic, the team principal, the head of catering, head of logistics. Truck driver from racetrack to racetrack. Like, I mean, what was Ferrari thinking? The poor man, you can hear him asking questions. Like, he's like, guys, literally at one point, guys, what must I do now? Literally didn't tell him, ignored him like he wasn't there. And then 5 laps later, they tell him to push, and then he pushes for 3 laps. And then they're like, oh, Sebastian, do you think you can go to the end? And he's just like, are you hearing yourself?
Honestly, it is incredible. I mean, Sebastian Vettel is not happy when he swears on the radio. Sebastian Vettel is a wholesome boy. He does not swear like Max Verstappen will swear. If you've annoyed him to the point that he's going to kick off you on the radio and use profanities, oh my God, you've done wrong. Like, you can see the tension in Ferrari so much, and the fact that he even managed to hold on to, what was he, 7th in the end? The fact that he held on to that, I'm like,
it was a Christmas miracle. We're in August, and it was a Christmas miracle from Sebastian Vettel to bring that car home in 7th place, because I was just sitting there dumbstruck, right? Because firstly, that car is impossible to drive. Like, we see every time we look at Vettel's onboard, it's like a mess. And he somehow managed to scrape that car into 7th place, despite his team, not because of his team. Yeah. And I guess that's all I want to say. I do like, however, when he just gives them the silent treatment. I find it incredibly satisfying. After qualifying, they speak to him, and it's literally radio silence.
Yeah.
The team tells him all of this information. He's just like, I won't even give you the benefit and the satisfaction of my response.
Yeah. He knows that he is a king. That's the thing. He knows his status. And the thing is with Seb as well, he's the nicest person that he will stay in that team until the very end. If Sebastian Vettel leaves that team, you have my word for it. It's not Seb who's telling him to go. It's Ferrari. Ferrari will kick him out because Seb is like a loyal cat. You know what a cat's like?
Yes.
You have to tame them for so long. And
he's like your cat.
Yes.
He's like your cat.
Seb is Alfie to me.
Yes.
It all makes sense. He will be there until the day you die. And when you're on your last legs, he will be there. And
he doesn't have teeth anymore, but he still tries to bite your hand off.
Yeah. And they're like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. How have we got to this point? Oh, no. I really pray for Seb every single day.
Let's quickly chat about Charles. I don't know if you have anything to say about him. I mean, he had the retirement, drove for 2 laps without a seatbelt on, which I find a bit scary. Like, if I was...
I know, that was a bit mad.
The team, I would have been like, Charles, like, seatbelts. And ironically, he like in charge of road safety in Monaco? All over the news last... Yeah, I think he's like on Princess Charlene's panel for road safety and responsible driving.
Wow.
I mean, just shows you.
I love that.
People aren't what they seem.
Yeah, Ferrari probably went, you know what, let's try this strategy. How about you do 2 laps without seatbelts, see if that changes anything at all?
Maybe it changes the aerodynamic characteristics of the car. You never know.
Exactly.
Ferrari was
that
like, I mean,
makes sense.
Nothing else we've tried worked, so let's give that a whirl.
God.
I can't with them. Let's quickly chat about McLaren. Now, I want to nominate Carlos Sainz as my driver of the day. My boy Carlos, I've been a big proponent of his ever since a long time ago, actually. And Again, really good job from Mr. Science, Senor Science, I guess, if I want to butcher an accent. He is so consistent. He's put in really, really strong race performances. I think every race so far this year he's been good. Just obviously bad luck has gotten the better of him recently, but really good performance by him. Lando, I mean, he tried, right? He did his utmost. He was also stuck in the DRS train with Magnussen and Ocon and Albon and Gasly and Leclerc and Sainz. Like it was just, he was in that whole mess. So getting a point and holding off Charles when Charles was sort of sticking his nose up his bottom everywhere. Good effort.
Yeah, I think from what I've seen from McLaren this year, it seems to almost be kind of like a mirror image of this time last year, where we saw Lando sort of get like quite a amount of bad luck in a few races of the season. That seems to have completely mirrored. So Lando's doing much, but like, I think Lando's got over half his points already that he did last year. Like that's insane.
Crazy.
Yeah, but no, I think personally, my driver of the day is the McLaren strategist for Carlos Sainz. They did an absolutely amazing job. When I saw that first pit stop, and I was like, "Oh, okay, see where they're going with this." And I was like, you know what, that could actually work out as long as he could get through some traffic. That could work out, and it really did really well for them.
But what McLaren did with Sainz is what Red Bull should have done with Albon. Because McLaren put Sainz on the mediums and Sainz hustled his way past Alex quickly. Because, I mean, Alex was trying to go around corners and chewing gum, which wasn't proven to be an effective way of, moving. So Carlos...
he would have fought it.
Carlos was making good progress and he was really, really fast. Almost caught the racing points at the end, actually. So good effort for him. Let's talk about Gasly, right? Little Pierre Gasly, the engine that could. He is now taking over the Nico Rosberg role for being the little engine that could, I feel. Like, he just drags that Toro Rosso around the track, making good moves, scoring good points. Yeah. Really good show for Gasly, I thought, again.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's really proving that why he was originally put in that Red Bull seat in the first place. He's really showing that he has got that talent, and this is what I mean. I mean, watching the race today, I think as well, Kvyat, when we were watching him, he was doing some racing today. I think he was actually quite unfortunate not to be in the points. He was probably just at the back of the never-ending DRS train. Just a little bit unlucky there, because that AlphaTauri, that has some decent pace when it needs to be. It can consistently be in the points. The only problem is they're not similar to McLaren, where they can consistently get both cars in the points at once. But every week they either have one of the cars in the points, and that's all they need to do really to stay ahead of Alfa, Haas and Williams. Not that it's that too difficult anyway to do that, but you know what I mean. Like, they're consistent in doing that. Yes, it would be great to see both the cars in the points, but Gasly is, honestly, he's so consistent. Like, every week he's either in the points or he's just out of the points, and that's what you want to see, especially when that car is the bottom of the midfield now, I would say, because it's in line with the Ferrari. You're either in the points or you're absolutely nowhere near. But yeah, Pierre is very, very impressive at the moment, and it's just extremely unfortunate that Red Bull will not shoot themselves in the foot to put him back in that seat. Not that I would anyway, because we love Alex Albon. He needs that more time to develop. But I am hoping that maybe not this year, next year when we see the 2022 regulations, we can see Pierre Gasly do a Carlos Sainz and get the hell out of that Red Bull family, because
I think that's best for him as well. He needs to end up in a Racing Point at some stage, or or like a Renault. I think, because he's building a nice little CV for him at the moment as being a really fast, dependable, consistent race driver, which obviously I think is great for him given everything that happened, I think. Okay, let's talk about Renault. Yeah. Our favorite ragtag bunch in yellow.
Oh my God.
Now, they are like, like when you have that ex, right? Where every time you think, you know what?
Where are we going?
They won't disappoint you this time. So you take them back, and then they disappoint you again. And then after they've disappointed you, you think, why did I place my trust in them in the first place? And I feel this is what's happening
But then
with
they'll do
Renault.
something amazing. Yeah, they'll do something amazing. Like they'll bring you a bunch of flowers, and you're like, "Oh my god, change!
Yes.
Amazing,
Yes.
incredible!" And then
Yeah.
you're like, "Wow, okay, let me give them a chance. I can really see the light at the end of the tunnel with this. We're going on a good path." And then like they'll literally like leave you on red for 4 hours. That is
Yes. And
Renault.
then the light at the end of the tunnel is a train. And that's what happened at DRS train in this case.
Oh. And
Like,
the thing is, I think what's really not helping them is the fact they have Daniel Ricciardo in that seat, and we know how good Daniel Ricciardo is. Renault, sort of, in the last couple of years, they've had drivers who haven't got wins, haven't got podiums, are sort of like slowly trying to be. They are their future. Let's say they're their future. And since putting Daniel in the car, it's really shown up how, quite frankly, awful Renault are. Because if Daniel Ricciardo cannot get that car in the points on a regular basis, like Pierre Gasly can with his AlphaTauri, then what is that car? It seems to either it's complete yo-yo, quite similar to Ferrari, where suddenly the race will end and you're like, hang on, how did Ricciardo come sixth or fourth?
Yeah, or fourth.
Or seventh, because Daniel loves a good seventh place in that Renault. If you think, oh, Ricciardo got points, where did he come? 9 times out of 10 he came seventh. But it's honestly, it's really showing up, because we all know how good of a driver that Daniel Ricciardo is. So for them not to be able to give him those results, like we hopefully will see next year when Daniel goes to McLaren, which I hope to God. Imagine the serotonin we will get when Daniel finally gets a podium again. It's going to be beautiful.
I will drink out of my shoe. Clean skin, no more cholesterol. Absolutely. Exactly. It's going to be amazing. No, I agree.
Look, clean bill of health.
Yes. COVID-19 who? He will single-handedly eradicate the COVID-19 pandemic. Daniel and Lando Norris at McLaren, I think.
Oh, it's going to be beautiful. But yeah, and my thoughts on Ocon every single week literally just go downhill. Like, I'm just like, what are you doing there? I know you've had a year out the car, but everyone seems to blow smoke up Ocon's ass. And I fully don't understand it. I don't get the hype around it. And I think slowly more and more people are losing the hype about Ocon.
Oh, I like Ocon.
No, I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not having
it.
No, I'm sorry.
He can do a good job. He must just...
He's in Renault for like God knows how many years. Where's he going to go from there? Mercedes aren't going to take him. He's stuck in Renault for ages. And then he'll be gone. He'll be a forgotten driver. He will be Nico Hulkenberg. He will not get a podium in his career. I'm sorry, I'm actually really...
Wow. I mean, Esteban, if you're listening to this, don't listen to the mean lady. I believe in you, Esteban. You can do it. You can do it,
Not
Esteban.
A lot of people believe in him.
You can get a podium. I think there's a fast race driver in there. I really do. I just think...
Where is it?
It's, you know where it is, Beth? You know where it is? It's at the F1 70th anniversary Grand Prix, where he made a one-stop work and came 8th and got some points. Where did Daniel Ricciardo finish? Yeah. Where did Daniel Ricciardo finish?
Daniel Ricciardo was having a little bit of an off day, you know. At least Daniel Ricciardo has got multiple podiums and a win. Where's Ocon there?
Ocon?
I believe Daniel Ricciardo has got Renault's best performance in a long, long time the other week. What did Ocon get that? No.
Did you see Ocon in the rain in Austria? Did he not qualify 4th?
Yeah, but he can't qualify in the dry. When does it rain? Never. You saw this week.
I will I will personally go and wet all of the tracks for Esteban so I can show how good he is. Okay. No, but all kidding aside, like I think, and Ben from BMPH F1 actually mentions in the comments, he makes a good point. In 2017 and 2018, Ocon was a beast against Sergio Perez, especially in qualifying. And I think for him, he must just find his mojo again. I think it's tough going up against Daniel straight out of the box. He hasn't driven an F1 car for a year. New team, new environment. Understanding the car still. I think also how good a driver is in the wets, to me, is a very good litmus test of how good the person's core driving skills are, if I can put it like that.
Okay.
And Ocon is very good in the wet. Like, we've seen him every time that there's a wet qualifying, especially. He's really outdone himself. You think about Spa, when in 2018, or when was he last with Racing Point? I can't remember. In that year, the year before he was fired, he qualified second, I think, behind Lewis. So like he can do it. I just think he needs a bit more time. You must treat him like we treat Alex Albon.
I see your points, but I just don't see where we can go from here with him. Like my argument is if you put Ocon in the Williams with Russell would still come out on top. That's my point.
Interesting
in that case, well, then why the hell would Mercedes carry on with supporting Ocon when they have?
I agree with you there. I think if I had to put Russell and Ocon next to each other, Russell's probably going to be the better driver. I think it's unfortunate for Ocon that Valtteri turned out to be just good enough to be a number 2 driver at Mercedes, because I think Ocon would have wanted to be in that car last year, I think, and it didn't work out for him. And I agree with you, similar to Gasly, actually, where I think Ocon and Gasly, I don't see big seats opening up for them soon. So they're going to have to find their way in the midfield and hope that, Renault or AlphaTauri or Racing Point or whoever sorts themselves out and gives them that opportunity.
Yeah.
That's my view, at least. Alrighty, let's quickly chat about our favorite struggle bus teams. So we have Haas, and we have Alfa Romeo, and we have have we spoken about Racing Point yet? We haven't. Let's quickly talk about Racing Point, but not much to say there for me personally. I mean, happy for you to add your thoughts, but I mean, Perez and Stroll, they did the job.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Yeah, I think one thing I really want to point out is I am very, very happy that because Lance has a decent car under him and he doesn't have to try and outperform the car, he now gets to have a good Saturday. And as a result, because he has a good Saturday, we can see how good he is on a Sunday. Because he always used to qualify absolutely awful on a Saturday when the car, you had to outperform it to do any well in qualifying, and he was always just knocked out in Q1. I think, to be honest, he just took a nap last year and all the other years previously. But he was always under the radar, similar to what Gasly has been sort of at the start of this year, that his Sunday performances were always really, really good, regardless of whether he got in the points or not. Stroll is one of the most impressive on the opening laps, like we saw today. His start was absolutely incredible, and that's a skill that I think is really quite underrated when it comes to Lance Stroll. So I'm very, very happy that now he's qualifying high up in the grid. We can see that he's able to maintain that position, and really the Racing Points, they're battling each other. And if they're sort of like in this little bubble, it only seems to be if like a pit stop goes wrong or they've got the wrong strategy that they're sort of challenged against other people. But no, he's really, really holding his own, and he is proving why he deserves to stay in that Racing Point, and why, personally for me, I don't think the Racing Point lineup should change. I love Seb. I love him. We all want him on the grid. Why wouldn't we want like a world champion on the grid? Why wouldn't we want that?
And a world champion strategist and mechanic.
Exactly.
And,
what will we do without Inspector Seb? Like, what will we do? We'll never know all of these things and all of these issues. We'll never know what.
You know what would be amazing with Seb? If one day he publishes a book with all of his findings after his inspections. Imagine there's like a photo. Every time there's a photo of him inspecting a car, he actually has like little notes of what he found and his thoughts.
I would
buy that.
I would
buy a book called Inspector Seb.
Copies. I'd be like, I will support you, Seb. You deserve better. Your talents and skills deserve to be recognised. But I think Racing Point's great at the moment, and they don't need to change their lineup. But yeah, we love Seb.
Yeah, on this podcast we love Seb. Maybe not in the past. I have been quite rude to him in the past when he was doing his many spins, but he's redeemed himself, I think.
I mean, I think his spins are just part of his character at this point. Like, if he doesn't do it, we're almost disappointed. We're like, where's
it's like a party trick. Yes.
Exactly. He's like, let me do a spin and let me still be P11 because I'm great.
Yeah. Alrighty, struggle bus teams. So,
yes.
Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
Kimi had a good weekend, I thought,
Mate,
on balance.
Kimi came P14. Kimi decided to wake up.
What an achievement for Kimi.
Well, come on, like that Alfa Romeo is absolutely nowhere. Like who are they at this point? I'm like, where are you? And he got out of Q1. Literally, I was rejoicing. I was like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy we got here. Not only did he get out of Q1, he out-qualified a Renault, which is like, Renault must be crying.
I mean, on the tier list of achievements, right? Out-qualifying a Renault in an Alfa Romeo is like...
Incredible work. And he broke a record this weekend just from going around the track. We love that.
Literally, just getting in the car, it's breaking records.
Yeah, and like I think this is my goal for Kimi this year, and my goal for Kimi this year is to score points before he retires this year.
Yes,
because if he scores,
that's my goal for him as well.
If he scores points, then I'll be like, bravo, you did really well. You can leave with grace. However,
good on you, Kimi.
If he doesn't score points, I'm gonna be like, babe, like why have you done this for? Like you're literally just taking the piss at this point. So
that's what he's doing it for.
And Antonio, I was really excited at the start of the year because it was a mad race at the start of the year. We all know that, but you got points, and at the end of the day, you've got to be there to get the points. And I was like, oh look, like maybe we're continuing this half development that we saw at the end of 2019. That we all sort of went, oh, here he comes. He just needed that time to settle in the scene. But now, where are you? Where are you?
I literally didn't see Giovinazzi once. Literally, I can't remember in the broadcast that he's one of two people where I literally, during this whole race, didn't hear his name mentioned once, which is surprising because Antonio Giovinazzi, and I don't know if you've noticed this, he has an uncanny knack of just when you think the race is incredibly boring and nothing else can happen, he has an accident. Have you noticed?
Yeah,
and it's always Antonio Giovinazzi, him or Roman Grosjean. But Grosjean doesn't have. It's Giovinazzi, but Grosjean doesn't have an accident. Grosjean just like goes into the gravel. But Antonio does it properly. No half-assing here. Antonio goes and has a full-blown accident. Yeah. And I was like, safety car, here we come. And I was waiting for Antonio to do this for us, because we needed it. We needed it this race. And where was Antonio? Where did he actually finish? Like
P16. So why were you there?
No, Antonio, you must do better next time, please.
I think personally, Alfa Romeo and Haas, at the start of on a Sunday morning, the four of them should get together. They should have a couple of straws, and they should all pull the straws. And the one that gets the shortest straw should crash for the safety car. Because really, what else are they? What else are they there for? What are they?
Oh wow!
They're not getting any.
And they're so good at it. Like it's like they were born for this role. Yeah. I mean, let's talk about Haas quickly because Roman Grosjean has just been, doing bits. He's been there. He's channeling, and I've said this. I said this, I think, on the other episode I did this week. He must have thought to himself at one point. I think let's say 3 weeks ago, he must have looked at himself and gone, Roman, you must actually channel Max Verstappen 2015 and just be like the worst defender.
Yeah.
In Formula One.
Yeah,
that's what he must have.
He's like, you know what? Not much has changed since then. I want to see a really good rule change. I want to make a difference in the sport. And what is he doing? He's going to try and kill everyone at any given moment that he can. And he's like, until I actually kill a driver, will anything happen?
We will.
He is driving for change.
Oh my gosh!
At this point, he's just driving as bad as he can. Which I love him as well because
he's our first ever driver activist.
Honestly, I love him for a person because I don't know if you follow Roman Grosjean on Instagram.
Very wholesome.
He is the most wholesome person I think I've ever seen in my life. I love that man with all of my heart. But every time he's on a track, I'm like, oh, babe, what are you doing this for?
He just messes up so much. Like every weekend, there's something.
It was the fact that before he had his little spin around, like the end of the GP, they literally, like, I saw him go in the pits and I was like, what's going on here? What's this happening? I was like, classic Haas strategy. Just do what you want at this point. Like, who cares? We've got
they're gonna put on intermediates. Why not? Maybe
Why not?
all this time we didn't know the wet tires are faster than the dry ones.
Exactly. And maybe he's probably faster on the wet tyres than the dry ones at this point.
Yeah.
So they went in and then I was like, strange. Okay. Like, I think it's perfectly reasonable for these teams just to go, you know what, we're nowhere. Let's just do whatever we want to get data collection. I think that's perfectly reasonable. That's clearly what they did to Latifi when he was plus 5 laps. However, for him then to do that and be like, psych, let me just completely flat spot the tyres as soon as I've left the pit and just ruin everything.
Imagine if you're Haas and your driver lineup, and it's their own fault. They could have gotten Nico Hulkenberg last year, and your driver lineup is Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen, the two most inconsistent drivers in the history of the last 5 years of F1.
I forgot Kevin existed. Genuinely.
Oh no, I was furious with Kevin. Kevin was like my persona non grata, parking there on his million lap soft tire strategy, maybe holding up Alex and Carlos and Lando and all of them, basically withholding them from greatness. Oh how selfish.
You know what he did? He was like, if I can't get a podium, you can't.
Nobody can.
That's exactly what he did.
And Magnussen is just petty enough for that to be believable. I can imagine Magnussen going, you know what? I should have pitted 10 laps ago, but I'm going to pit. I'm going to stay here until my wheels fall off, but you will not get past.
Yeah,
that's
but you know what? I'm going to pit at the exact moment that something bad will happen to me and cause a safety car. So you're not going to get any good from me. He is that petty. He'll be like, no, sorry, it's not happening.
No, 100%. Now before we get too off track, let's quickly talk about Williams. Now,
who?
Nicholas Latifi. Yeah, exactly. I haven't heard the word Latifi. I have not heard for the whole day. I haven't heard
Latifi did not spin all weekend. There was no spins ever. There was no spins in practice. There was no spins in qualifying. There was no spins in the race. So, Latifi, 9 out of 10.
Small miracle.
Incredible. Beautiful.
Driver of the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, and Russell, I mean, he did good as he could have. Like, he qualified decently well. And then that's the last time I saw him.
Yeah, I think clearly this just isn't a track for Williams. Like, as soon as we saw him practice, I was like, this isn't a track for them. This is peak 2019 Williams. And
it's like you pretend not to see, and then we move on to Spa.
We just accept it. We're like, right, okay, don't worry about it, babes. We'll forget this happened, and we'll move on, and we'll see you next week. Like, it's fine. Get your data collection, work out what needs to be improved on, and we'll come back next week. And that is... I will allow that from Williams because of how shocking they were last year and how far they've come. I'm like, you're okay to have an off week. Haas, I'm literally like, you've got no excuse. Like, no excuse. We know how good you can be. Where's your excuse? Yeah. Williams, you're on the up, so that's fine.
Yeah. I see the Understeer podcast asked, Tinas, when will we see you, or will we see you in the Alpha seat next year? No, you will not, unfortunately. I might sound like I know what I'm talking about, but actually... I don't. Even though at this point, Antonio Giovinazzi, I might probably spin as often as he does or crash as often as he does, but I don't think that's what Alfa Romeo are going for, to be honest. No. They must keep that seat nice and warm for Callum Eilert or Robert Schwartzman or my favorite, Marcus Armstrong, who's not having a very nice time at the moment, but I will believe in him.
If we believe, he can achieve.
Yes, that's the right attitude to have. And I think on that very good note, let's move on to our TF1 awards. Now, Beth, if you've listened to the show before, you'll know that that's basically the highlight of every episode. And quite frankly, for every driver, it's probably the highlight of their year. If they get firstly nominated and secondly get awarded one of these illustrious awards. Yeah. So let's jump straight into it with our first award, which is the Pastor Maldonado Award for Most Dunderheaded Deed. So, Beth, who do you award with the most dunderheaded deed for the weekend?
I don't even know. Where do we begin? I want to know yours first. Tell me yours.
Well, I would, and this is probably the front runner, right, for this award. This is, you know how Ferrari has won the most world championships in history of the sport. Ferrari has also won the most TF1 awards for most done ahead of lead, and I think they're very much in the running again this year with the Sebastian Vettel strategy of telling him to push, and then 3 laps afterwards asking him if he can make the soft tires that he's been on since like lap 4. No, I'm exaggerating, but like for a ridiculous amount of time. If you can make those soft tires last to the end, I would think that's a good option. Another option is Red Bull, for some unknown reason, reviving the hard tire and putting them on Alex Albon's car, even though we know it's such a bad tire to run on.
Yeah.
Who else was a bit stupid? Roman Grosjean, just, Roman Grosjean.
Yeah, but I would say Roman Grosjean purely because he didn't cause a safety car, not because he didn't make it worth it.
Fair enough.
That's why I would personally nominate him, and I would also personally nominate Ocon for simply existing in this race and causing issues.
No,
I don't care.
Praise the ban. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to the next award, which is the Lewis Hamilton #Blessed Award for luckiest driver over the weekend. So what are your thoughts?
Probably Sebastian Vettel for making no softs work and actually managing to stay in the points. He is a lucky boy. Honestly, when they said, "Oh, can you make it work?" and he kicked off, I was like, "Well, here we go. We're going to see Vettel tumble down the order so quick." And I was like, I was thinking, if he gets a 10th, brilliant, top work. But the fact that he got a 7th, wow, he really went
achievement.
through the car. Honestly.
He did. I have to say, in his defense, he did keep Alex Albon behind him, even though, Alex wasn't really lighting the timer screen up. But kudos to you, Sebastian Vettel, and happy for him to win that award.
Yeah.
Then we can move on to our final award, which is the Nico Hulkenberg Podium Award for unluckiest driver. Who do you think?
Oh, God. To be honest, maybe Charles, purely because his car just said no. No, sweetie, not today.
Yeah, I'm tired.
Oh, yeah.
Silverstone was too much. Charles hustled that car around Silverstone. I think that car was probably just thinking, like, he can't deal with this for another race.
He was like,
much rather just shut off.
He was like, sweetie, go home early. Like, you deserve it. You deserve a break for carrying
It's been a triple header.
Yeah.
Your shoulders must be exhausted for carrying the whole team on them for the the past year and a half.
Yeah.
So fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
Charles. Yeah.
Charles, unluckiest. Good point though, Will from Formula Podcast 1. Charles could have given us a safety car. Instead, decided to keep going. Selfish. I agreed. Actually, when I saw Charles parked up there, I was like, what we needed is a safety car, and we now have a safety car. And then that's also typical Spain, right? We thought there was going to be rain, dry as a bone. We thought there was going to be a safety car. Charles miraculously was able to restart his car and drive another lap, just literally taking the piss and not allowing us to have a safety car. Still retired. Still retired. It's not like he rejoined the race, but agreed. Selfish Charles, do better next time.
Yeah, honestly, take one for the team. That's what I say. Take one for the team, because really, let's think. Right, big brain moment. Charles stops, causes a safety car, helps Sebastian Vettel out because Seb could have pitted.
Because Charles knows. He knows what's happening with Sebastian.
Yeah.
He knows Sebastian needs all of the help he can get because the team isn't giving him any help.
No.
So Charles is like, you will sacrifice himself.
Yeah, exactly.
For the greater good. Thank you, Charles.
But then, like, there was a little goblin in Ferrari that went, let me just switch this button to turn the engine magically back on. And so Seb still has to wallow in just this misery.
I actually saw quite a funny tweet on that where somebody just said that time when Ferrari switches off the wrong engine by mistake.
Yeah, it was so true.
It's shame.
Yeah, no,
shame.
selfish.
But anyways, Beth. So we have a week off next week. Can you believe it? Before the Belgian Grand Prix. Now, I guess there are a couple of questions we need to ask before we go into the next race. Now, obviously, engine mode's going to be a big thing. Is the ban on engine modes going to affect Mercedes? Probably not. Is Sebastian Vettel finally going to realize that he's worth more? And as L'Oreal says, he's worth it, and decide to pack his bags and leave Ferrari to,
Seb
a better and greener future.
Crown. He's dropped his crown and he needs to pick it up and put it back on his head and realize what a king he is.
Yes, he does. And I guess lastly, we need to ask ourselves, will we see another Giovinazzi, Grosjean, Kevin Magnussen trifecta of chaos and carnage in Spa?
Oh, Lord, I hope so. I hope. You know what I noticed today was I was praying for a turn one incident because we haven't had one this season. Like, can you believe that? We stopped racing for this long. And
how dare these drivers be so responsible and careful?
I know. I'm like,
you would have thought they were Formula One drivers.
Exactly. And all of these teams at the back, I'm like, why don't you just full send it into turn one? Like, what could go wrong? Like,
they keep talking about full send. I haven't seen any full sends for weeks. I've only seen third sends and three-quarter sends.
Yeah,
no full sends is all I'm saying.
Nothing. So I'm hoping that we get a turn one incident, or we get a spicy incident that results in at least a safety car at the very minimum, because truly it's what we deserve after this weekend. We deserve something to cheer us up.
I have to say, we deserve an award for, firstly, being able to sit through the race, and then secondly, for being able to talk for 57 minutes about a race that literally contained nothing.
If anyone could do it, it was me and you. We were the perfect team for this.
We are drivers of the day, I think, after that. Because also, when they voted Sebastian as driver of the day, I was like, yes.
I voted for
but
him.
Also no. Like, he did fine. He didn't do amazing, right?
No, but he's driver of the day for purely surviving at this point.
Fair enough. He's survivor of the day. He's not driver of the day.
Exactly. Well, see, I simply read it wrong. I thought it said survivor of the day, and I was like, there is one man for this award, and that's Sebastian Vettel.
100%. All right, Beth. But on that note, thank you so much for joining. It's been an absolute laugh. We must do this again soon.
We must.
Just basically chat online, talk nonsense for an hour, and have people listen to us on their own volition, I might add. But thank you so much for joining. Please, guys, give Beth a subscribe. She is such a fun person to follow and to listen to. Go and follow her Twitter as well. It's just a hoot. She asks all the most important questions, that probably will determine the course of human society. So please go and give her a follow on there as well. And I guess for me, thank you guys for joining and for listening in. You can follow me on Twitter as well. I'm at TF1 Show on Twitter. And please hit the subscribe button if you do enjoy this episode. And I guess if you were able to stomach, 59 minutes of us rambling and you reach this point, please leave a subscription. It would be much appreciated. Now, I'll be back next week with another fun episode. I don't yet know what it's going to be about, but there will be an episode, and I'll chat to you guys then. Cheers.
Bye.